Thanks, John. And welcome back to Talladega as Jimmie Johnson gets set to climb aboard and join the drivers who are already behind the wheel. Johnson will be one of those with 15-minute hold time on his practice. Danica, Kyle, and Casey all at the ready to go. It is NASCAR Sprint Cup practice, the first of 2 sessions you'll see today. Qualifying tomorrow for the Talladega race. Beautiful day here, and the forecast is great through next weekend. 66 degrees, a light breeze, full sun. So welcome to the fastest speedway on earth. Yes, we know the cars are restricted, but there is no faster track than Talladega.
Well, this is going to be fun right here because you mentioned Jimmie Johnson in that 48 car. He left pit road by himself making single car runs. But what I counted here, being led by Joey Logano on that 22 car, 25 cars. And this is what I learned this morning. The drivers wanted to go out there in a big pack to start this first practice.
Well, it's the Penske Fords at the head of that pack. Logano and Keselowski, the 22 and the 2.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of confidence for Chad Knaus and Jimmie Johnson to do what they do on these super speedways, but I also know that there are a lot of crew chiefs that are starting to take note of how well they run and the process they go through to get ready for the race, which is usually running by themselves.
You see that right there. Team Penske winning the race here in the fall with Brad Keselowski. Joey Logano won the Daytona 500. The Roush Yates engine package, Ford engine package, they've actually won the last 3 restrictor plate races, which would include Eric Almirola at Daytona last July.
Well, this looks a lot like the end of Daytona when you remember Joey Logano set out in front of a big pack of cars and led them around there to the checkered flag. Right now you see Brad Keselowski sitting out there, kind of leading them around here. Here comes Joey on the inside, getting a little run on Brad. Also remember what happened to Brad Keselowski here last year. Got laps down, got up the middle of the field. I think he's about 6 laps down. Spun out. Not good. People were angry. Drivers were mad.
Little unique schedule here this weekend. These drivers will get 2 one-hour practices today, and then this is an impound race. We'll have qualifying tomorrow, and then pretty much NASCAR puts the cars in the garage area after qualifying, shuts the doors. You pretty much qualify and race the same package.
You know, Larry, I've heard the last year or so, maybe last 2 years, that this track has lost a ton of grip. And that handling, we always talk about, oh, you don't have to worry about handling at Talladega. That's not true anymore. These guys are telling me these cars get real tail happy when they're up in traffic in packs of cars, and it's something they really have started paying attention to.
Looking at Ryan Blaney at the tail end of that group, sucking up to them in the draft, gave him the fastest lap of all so far, 195.9 miles an hour. Now Jeff Gordon takes over the top spot with Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Carl Edwards, and Kyle Larson.
Yeah, the last this track was repaved in 2006. That's when it had max grip, obviously. And the one thing that I think has maintained pretty consistent, though, is the surface is still smooth. We don't have those undulations or big bumps that we had in the track before they repaved it. But you can look at the track and tell it's a lot whiter and has lost a lot of grip.
A couple of cars you won't see in these first 15 minutes of practice. Kevin Harvick late for pre-race inspection last week, and the number 7 of Alex Bowman failed an inspection station more than twice in pre-race inspection. The 43 is in that group, also late to inspection, as was Matt DiBenedetto.
Now, Carl Edwards in the 19 car, he just went to the top, but he had the perfect scenario. The 5th car in line, led by Joey Logano, and they were catching a line of cars, and that's what made their speed go up. And we've seen this a lot, that the car that's 4th or 5th in line, he'll be the quickest.
And that's one reason why NASCAR has made an important change to this weekend. The qualifying procedure will no longer permit cars to go out in packs where a car in the middle of the pack might have a disadvantage over the car leading or trailing. Tomorrow, qualifying is going to be, it's going to look familiar, but it's going to be a lot different from what we had last year.
I like to call it rapid fire. And when I say rapid fire, they're going to send a car, and as soon as that car goes by, they send another car. So there will constantly be 2 race cars on the racetrack. Not where they can help each other, but it'll go by much quicker than waiting for a guy to make 2 laps and then coast in. Should be pretty quick.
And you'll see that here tomorrow, live on Fox. Joey Logano at the head of this track. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Joey Logano will never forget the $1.5 million payday and priceless trophy for winning the Daytona 500 back in February. Now that winning amount still down on Speedway property. They brought a brand new race car here to Talladega, trying to change up their luck the past 7 races. 0 finishes in the top 10. Now the game plan today to try to lessen the chances of having a car get involved in a wreck and go to a backup. They're out on the track now. They're going to make a long run in the pack, 10 to 12 laps, bring the car back in, then they're going to swap over to single car runs, maybe up to 4, and then make 1 run to roll in their qualifiers. And then the second practice today, they're hoping just to wax that fast 22. Chris Neville?
Well, Matt, 2015 has definitely been challenging for Clint Boyer. Just 2 top 10s, but he and crew chief Brian Patty, they've had Talladega circled in red. Clint's numbers here are fantastic. He's got 2 wins and 10 top 10 finishes. I talked to him right before practice and asked him why he's so good here, and he said a lot of drivers think results at Talladega are just a crapshoot, and he doesn't believe that. He says you've got to be a student of this type of racing. You've got to know when to make the right decisions and have the right timing on the racetrack. He was hoping to do some drafting in this first 15 laps of practice, but he just came back to the garage, had to make some adjustments to his rearview mirror in that car.
Thanks, Chris. Another driver who believes much the same thing is Danica Patrick. She has been a force on restrictor plates, and the news broke earlier this week that her primary sponsor, GoDaddy, will exit the sport as a major primary car sponsor at the end of this season. They will likely continue with Danica in a personal services role, but they said we have garnered all the attention and brand awareness that we can from NASCAR. We're moving on for more things within the computer industry.
Yeah, some people ask me, you know, why is it coincidental that she's having a great year, maybe the best of her career? When we come back, I'll tell you what I think about that.
Reagan is fastest. We learned this week this is his last ride in the Joe Gibbs number 18 Toyota. Eric Jones, the young phenom out of the Xfinity Series, will take over that car beginning next week at Kansas. And David Reagan, instead of returning to Front Row Motorsports and their Fords, will move over to Michael Waltrip Racing and drive the 55 for the balance of the season.
4 wide there, you saw that. You might as well get comfortable with that, because that's where it's going to be all day Sunday. You're going to be 3-4 wide all the time. But back to Danica Patrick. Somebody asked me, you know, is it a coincidence that her performance this year is the best it's been? I said, because it's a contract year with her and with the GoDaddy and everything. I said, no. But what can happen, and it's happened with me, your focus. You become so much, you can't try any harder. You can't drive any harder, but you can be more involved in team meetings. You can be more involved with the setup of your car. You become more involved in what's going on around you rather than just kind of letting other people do it for you. You get in there and you start getting hands-on, doing a little bit of stuff for yourself, and it does seem to make a difference.
Let's go back to the entrance of turn 1, where Joey Logano and Casey Kane almost had a go-to-meeting here.
You see Joey Logano drops to the bottom. Darrell, did it look like Casey Kane maybe had come out of the throttle just a little bit because he ran up on Dale Earnhardt Jr. so quick in the 88?
You know, dragged a brake, any of those things that break a little momentum, and the guy behind you's closing, and that's that chain reaction thing that happens here, a lot like it does at Bristol. Think about this track being a big Bristol. And if something happens in front of you, you can't avoid it. You can't slow down. You can't stop. Same thing applies here. You've got to be on your toes. You've got to constantly be looking ahead and thinking ahead about what might happen and what could happen, and always trying to leave yourself a way out of trouble.
You know, we were listening to Matt Yoakum talk about Joey Logano making this race run in the 22 car. Most of these drivers, they've run anywhere from 10 to 12 laps. They've been out there ever since practice started. A fuel run here is about 42 to 46 laps. So I feel like if you run 15 to 20 laps, that's going to give you a good read on what your race car is going to do as you get laps on the tires and you start burning a fuel load off.
You know, the other thing that a couple of guys told me is, I talked about handling being a factor and the cars being a little looser, the back end sliding around a little bit more. That has kind of a cause and effect. It also causes those rear tires to heat up, and those rear tire pressures that are so sensitive to these cars, those pressures build up, and that makes the car even harder to drive. And man, are we getting close or what?
I mean, Casey Kane just had a couple of close calls. First, Carl Edwards ran down the inside on him. There wasn't any room there, and then he got a little shuffled out of line.
Well, you know what they're doing?
Busy now.
They're just testing their skills. They're sharpening their skills for Sunday, because this is the way it's going to be. What you see here, you're going to see for 500 miles on Sunday.
But Darrell, Mike, I've been pretty impressed with what we saw Denny Hamlin in that 11 car did. He almost didn't even catch this pack, and he's worked his way up through there to lead them now. And remember, this race a year ago, that 11 car Denny Hamlin went to victory lane.
Yeah, the Gibbs cars have been pretty steamy on these super speedways, Daytona and Talladega. I think about, whoa now, easy buddy. I think about Matt Kenseth, how he dominated but has not been able to close the deal. Carl's running good today. He's right up there. All these Gibbs cars pretty fast this weekend.
You know, every race we've been to this year, we've talked about the 2015 rules package. It's one thing I like that NASCAR has done at the 2 restrictor plate tracks. We really have not had a rules change with these cars at those 2 tracks since the Gen 6 car was introduced at the beginning of 2013.
You know why I like that? Because who won this race last year?
Denny Hamlin.
David Reagan won this race also.
2 years ago.
2 years
yeah.
ago. That's what I like about a level playing field. It lets the guys that are mid-pack to maybe the back, if you don't change the rules all the time, they can catch up and stay caught up.
Pack pulling up on Jamie McMurray in the number 1, 3 wide.
Plus, you know,
I say that casually because, as you say, we're going to see that all day long.
Yeah, there's got to be some good race cars floating around almost weekly, seems like, because these teams are constantly improving and building new cars. That means the old ones have got to go somewhere. And that's another good thing about the rules package not changing. You can buy a car from Hendrick or Gibbs or Childress or somebody, and it's as good as what they've got on the racetrack.
Somebody was joking on Twitter the other day about how Dale Jr. is going to have to run a car here that's already got a race on it. And like, Hendrick, they've got to use a car that's 1 race old? and Harry Scott jumped in. He owns the number 51 team, and he jumps in on Twitter and he says, old Dale Jr. cars don't go to the crusher, they become 51s.
Yeah, makes you feel good to say, I got a car that won the race 5 years ago.
Here's a closer look at today's practice, brought to you by Sprint. Stay connected to the Sprint Cup Series with Sprint during the Cut Your Bill in Half event. Just bring your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and your current phone. They'll cut your bill in half.
Yeah, Chris Neville did a report on Clint Boyer. He actually finished 3rd in both races here last year.
Kevin Harvick, after spending 15 minutes in timeout at the beginning of this session, which is NASCAR's way of penalizing you for either being late to inspection or taking too many tries to go through inspection before you're passed. Now he's out to run some practice laps. 35th on the board, 2 laps.
Just a nice hum. It does that all day long.
Johnny, 1 note.
Yeah, well, it'll pick up a little, it'll sing a little nicer song when it gets a little draft. Get a little sniff there and you pick up 300 or 400 RPM. And then that cleans it up a little bit. Still run the 190 miles an hour here at 91, easing right on up.
I don't need it right this second, but a second gear pit road speed.
Watch those miles per hour, Mike. Through the corner, he was 192 going into turn 1. He only lost, looks like 3 or 4 miles an hour through the corner and off onto the back straightaway.
Small pack waiting to gather up and go out. Casey Mears headed out. Tuesday, we all gathered in Charlotte for memorial service honoring Our late friend and colleague Steve Burns. See Casey Mears still carrying Burns on the helmet as we all carry him in our heart.
It's a beautiful service. Everybody did a really nice job.
Yep. One of Steve's childhood friends, his nephew, truck race producer Mark Smith, and Carl Edwards all gave very, very moving and uplifting remembrances.
Yeah, Carl did a nice job of speaking for the garage, where Steve spent so much time, and Carl and Burns were pretty good buddies. So had some nice remarks. You know, speaking of Casey Mears that we're watching here on the screen, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people on the radio and in the garage and around talk about he's kind of a dark horse favorite to win this thing.
Top 10 in 5 of his last 7 restrictor plate races, including his last 3.
Yeah, had a heck of a run at Daytona in that car.
Yeah, finished 6th in the Daytona 500. And to me, that's one of a number of elements that will be fun to watch here on Sunday, because we are a third of the way through the regular season to make the chase. Think back to Denny Hamlin a year ago. Winning this race is what had put him in the chase and almost got him the championship by finishing 2nd to Kevin Harvick. This could be the place, like David Reagan 2 years ago, where a little team like Casey Mears and his 13 group can win a race and be a part of the chase in 2015.
So let's think about it. What did winning that race here do for David Reagan?
Probably one thing, one of many things that led him to driving this 18 car.
Exactly, and he's sitting here at the top of the sheet right now with the fastest time. And of course, we now know that he's going to move over to the 55 car next week and finish out the season in that car most likely. So that win got him a lot of attention, which we know he's a great restrictor plate racer. He's won at Daytona, he's won here. A pretty good restrictor plate driver.
Well, Brian Scott, who won the pole here last year. I mean, this place, ever since they built it, 1969, it's been full of surprises.
I've been a part of a few of them.
Right, on both ends, right?
Yeah.
The keys to racing there are don't get in the wreck, have a fast car, and beat everybody around to the end. That is the 3 keys to success at Talladega. Thank you.
How about Clint Boyer rocking the Royals cap there? More on that in a moment as we tell you that tomorrow MLB on Fox Sports 1 returns with another doubleheader. A West Coast interleague showdown. Angels-Giants followed by Reds-Braves. Coverage begins 3:30 Eastern on your home for baseball every Saturday. Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Now back to Boyer. On Wednesday, he will throw out the first pitch for the Royals game in Kansas City.
Yeah, he's got 2 wins here, and he missed the 3rd. Remember that close finish he had here, 2 1/1000ths of a second, like from 3rd. But I kind of got my top 3 things about here too. You anticipate the wreck, you avoid the wreck, and the big one, don't cause the wreck.
Ooh,
those are the 3 things I try to watch out for.
You know, we watched Kurt Busch last week at Richmond lead almost a third of that race.
Excuse me, 3/4 of that race.
3/4 of that race.
I'm sorry.
All right, think about Kurt Busch missing 3 races at the beginning of this year. He and Kevin Harvick, his teammate, they have led 48% of the laps that we've run in 2015. And again, that's with Kurt missing the first 3 races.
It's what we used to call stuck up the show, Matt.
You are exactly right, Mike. And during this practice session, like everyone, the 41 team has a strategy and a game plan. Now, while you had the big pack had formed out on the racetrack at the beginning of the session, Kurt Busch joined up with 4 other cars, made a mini 5-car pack. And Tony Gibson was extremely pleased with their times. He migrated down to a 3-car pack and then brought it in, and Tony said, make sure you mentally make a note of the 4 other cars that you are in with that mini pack, because you guys on the speed charts faster than the big pack. And Kurt said yes, they were all blue ovals. Now what they're doing now, he's going to be out making single car runs. He also wants to make 1 run down pit road just to get a good feel for pit road speed. So a lot of different agendas up and down the garage area.
Thanks, Matt. Tony passed a kidney planet this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge.
Those pretty big stones, weren't they?
But I'm glad he finally was able to have that surgery because, as we know, he wasn't able to go back to the pit box at Bristol for the race. So I talked to him this morning, said he's a little bit sore, but doing okay. But Darrell, to our point about not changing the rules, that car that Kurt is running here is the car that Danica Patrick set on the pole for the 2013 Daytona 500.
Yes, sir. And I like to have the rules say that I can just keep tweaking on what I got, refining. Keep refining, you keep getting a little better.
In the first couple of minutes of this session, Jimmie Johnson was top of the board. He's run 11 laps. Currently down on 28th, but I know that's of no concern because whatever agenda he's on, it's different from everybody else's.
Yeah, and like I said when he first went out, a lot of crew chiefs are saying, you know, maybe we need to take note because we know how smart Chad Knaus is, and we know how good this 48 runs by himself or in the race. If you make this car better by itself, it's probably going to race better in the race, and that's what they look at.
Matt?
Mike, Chad told me this morning that's going to be the game plan for this first session, single car runs, and then in the second session, if there are enough cars to form up a big pack, he would like to go and run in a big pack during that session. The only issues they've been working on the 48, number one, in DW, you know how visibility issues are so tough here with restrictor plate cars, especially at Talladega. They were working on Jimmy's right side mirror. It's about 14 inches long. When he came in after his first run, they were working on that. Then the other issue consisted of bad luck. When Jimmy put the window net down, it hit the small mirror, the side mirror on that A post and broke it. So what's the old saying? 7 years bad luck?
I don't like the sound of that, but it was just a little mirror.
Yeah, it wasn't a big wall.
No, it wasn't a great big mirror. So, yeah, the thing about mirrors and spotters and the whole, you know, how you race this race in the packs like we're talking about, you've got to make quick moves. You got to be able to say, spotter can't say he's looking. You got to make decisive, quick moves here. If there's an opening, you got to take it. If you hesitate, you're probably going to get run over.
With about half of this first practice gone, this pack here has about 16 drivers in it. Right now led by A.J. Allmendinger in that 47 car.
And there's so many things. There's so many things.
Number 6 up to you.
Come on, man. Finish up.
You in the 31.
We were talking about the spotters, and you can see even in practice how important they are. But what I'm talking about is you've got to be able to make decisive moves. If you are indecisive, that confuses the people around you. If everybody knows what you're going to do, what you're expected to do, what they think you're going to do, it'll be a whole lot cleaner than when you start to make a move and change your mind. That changing your mind will get you in trouble every time. Obviously, you can't turn down over somebody's hood. No. I'm talking about making good, smart, decisive moves. You commit to the inside, you go on the inside. You commit to the middle, you stay in the middle.
Now look, there's Justin Allgaier in that orange 51 and Landon Castle in the 40. We saw them up in the top 10 a good bit of the Richmond race a week ago. A couple others who could surprise here at Talladega.
Little 51 car is getting stronger every week. Steve Addington.
Wow, got a lot of wheel in it there.
You're in that baby. Woo.
Denny Hamlin now fastest in practice with 23 minutes left ahead of David Reagan, Danica Patrick, Casey Kane, and Clint Boyer. Let's go down to Chris Neville for Traction Talk, sponsored by TireRack.com.
Well, Mike, when you think about race tires, we usually think about hot, sticky tires that grip the racetrack. But what Goodyear has learned at these super speedways is they talk about rolling resistance. They want a tire that doesn't have a lot of rolling resistance. So they developed a specific compound and construction for the tread of these tires that has less rolling resistance than we'd see on other tracks. So a tire that doesn't get as much heat in the tread and slow the car down. And one thing that they've learned here at the super speedways, they've actually taken back to the street, to the Fuel Max tires that you can buy for your cars at home.
Yeah, they have less rolling resistance, Chris, and deliver better gas mileage. Yep.
Yeah, this is the same combination left and right that we ran here last October. It's the same left side that we ran at Daytona in February, and I found this interesting. It's the right side that we ran at Las Vegas back in March.
Yeah, and like I said, the tire doesn't wear out. I mean, it's hard and it doesn't wear out, but it gets that buildup, that air pressure buildup. And that's what really gets the cars not handling well. It's not that the tires wear out, but it's just an incredible amount of right rear buildup as you kind of lean on that tire the most.
They're going to bring Ricky Stenhouse in for a blend line violation. Remember, the double yellow line here is out of bounds, and when you leave the pits, there is a specific manner in which you must blend up into the line of traffic. He's the second driver to be posted for that today. Bobby Labonte, who is wheeling the 32 this week, was the first. That double yellow line is to warn drivers not to advance their position by going below it. It was just a single line here. That's Regan Smith down in the out of bounds zone. He was first to the flag, but did not get the win.
But you know, there's two
driving out of bounds.
There's two parts to that rule. If you get forced below the yellow line, there's also a situation that NASCAR takes a look at.
Yes.
And if there was a debate about that call, that was probably the debate about whether he was forced below the line or not. We saw a year later what happens if you don't go below the yellow line and the guy in front of you blocks you or forces you down. Remember what Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards?
Right.
Brad held his line. Carl blocked him.
I think the issue was not whether, was Regan Smith forced down? Perhaps. But then he advanced his position. And if you have a question about these or any other rules, go on Twitter and tweet at APetrie33, hashtag AskAndy.
Yeah, Regan was going to give the spot back as soon as
on the cool down lap.
As soon as they got to turn one.
Right. Right. You're right. I'm sorry. It's not funny.
No,
and it was a tough call for NASCAR to have to make. I'm sure. More practice from Talladega coming up. Now to Greg Wolf at the Fox Sports 1 news desk for this. Hey, we're going to see ZZ Top on May 24th. And oh, by the way, it's Stock Car Racing's longest night. You get to see the Coca-Cola 600 as well. All for one ticket at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Go to charlottemotorspeedway.com. Get your tickets for the Coca-Cola 600. One great night of racing and a great concert. Can't wait.
It's my favorite racing day of the year. What do we start the morning off? Where do we start off at?
Monaco with champagne.
And then where do we go?
Indy.
For lunch.
Yeah.
And then where do we go?
Charlotte.
For dinner.
Right.
My, what a day.
Jeff Gordon is going to drive the pace car at the Indianapolis 500. That was announced at the NASCAR tire test up there this week. So that's going to be his version of the Memorial Day double. He will drive the pace car to start the Indianapolis 500 and then come to Charlotte to race in the Coca-Cola 600.
Will he stay there all day, you think?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but have you ever needed a relief driver for a pace car? I'm sure
usually the celebrity pace car driver does not pace the entire race.
Is that still Johnny Rutherford does that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think what Jeff's going to do is just under the pace laps of the Indy 500. Right. He's had a lot of honors bestowed on him, especially this being his final year full-time in Sprint Cup. But listening to him the other day about this, he is pretty excited about doing this.
So he was up there for the announcement, and the pace car is the new Corvette Z06, the supercar Corvette. Not that a Corvette's not a supercar, but this is taking it to a whole nother level. So they said, well, go out there and shake it down for a lap. They just about had to block the track to get him off the track. Didn't want to come in. All right, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has gone to the top of the board, and yes, that is Michael Waltrip there in second place in his Toyota. Chris Neville.
Well, A.J. Allmendinger right now 11th on the board, and A.J., lots of drivers out there working in the draft. Are you learning anything about the car while you're out there?
Yeah, I think it's pretty fast. We went out there, did a single car run. It's a brand new car after all the incidents at Daytona, so the Kroger Hungry Jack Chevy. I'm getting used to that. I'm glad to have Kroger to be such a big part of this race team now and to have them sharing the hood with Hungry Jack. So I'll get used to that, saying that. But no, the car's pretty fast. Went out there, led the pack a little bit, worked the draft, went to the back of the pack, sucked up pretty good. Now we're going to put a cover over it, and I'm going to go play some golf.
Sounds good. A.J. Allmendinger finished 5th here last year.
You know, A.J. mentioned it. You have to tip your hat to Tad and Jody Geschecter. They continue to bring new sponsors to our sport. The deal with Kroger's, the grocery store chain, that's a multi-year deal for the 47 team.
Well, Tad came from Procter & Gamble,
Yeah.
and so he is a marketer. But more than that, he's a racer. So, yes, hats off to them.
Plus, they got their race team is really doing well this year. AJ's doing a great job behind the wheel. They've had some great runs already, so they've turned some heads, and that gives you something to market. You got to have something to sell, and right now, I think they got a pretty good product that they're putting on the racetrack.
Kyle Larson, Tony Stewart with Austin Dillon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. All right, we have a little advice for Jimmy Johnson on that broken mirror. This comes from our ace stat man, Jimmy Hicks. I have no idea where he found this. Where'd you find this? Take broken mirror pieces and wash them in a south running river to reverse the bad luck of a broken mirror. And if you believe that,
Chad Canal says somebody on that.
Well, not only do we have to find a river, we have to find one that runs to the south.
That's right. Ever wanted to be a Fox camera guy or girl at Talladega? Here's your chance.
So you want to be a camera guy or girl? Now's your chance. Be a part of Fox Sports' groundbreaking 100,000 cameras broadcast. Here's how. 1. Go to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race on Sunday, May 3rd at Talladega Superspeedway, or watch it on TV. 2. Record your race day experience using a camera or camera phone. Get your family and friends on there too. 3. Hold your camera sideways when recording, not up and down. 4. Upload the videos to your social media accounts using the hashtags 100KCams and NASCAR. 5. Tune into Fox Sports 1 Thursday, May 14th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern to see if your footage makes the cut. There. Simple, right? Now go out there and be somebody.
All right, there's 5 things you need to know. So tune into Fox Sports 1 Thursday, May 14th, 9:30 Eastern. See if your footage made the cut, and you can join these great television professionals. I saw 3 cameras on that roof, and one of them was unmanned, so there's room for you folks.
You know, the greatest sight about our cameramen, they're not wrapped up in big coats. They don't have the cameras with rain gear. The weather here for 3 days, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous.
You know what else, Larry? The top 3 cars have run over 200 miles an hour here in practice.
Yes, they have.
Stenhouse, Michael, and Buscher all over 200 miles an hour.
Now, Chris Buescher back behind the wheel of the 34, and the deal there is he is on loan from Roush Fenway Racing, where he's trying to win the Xfinity Series championship, and he'll drive whatever races don't create a major conflict with his Xfinity Series for the 34 team, who otherwise now has to make new plans now that they have lost driver David Reagan to Michael Waltrip Racing.
And where did Buscher finish in the Xfinity race at Daytona?
He finished 2nd at Daytona in the Xfinity Series race, and he finished 2nd in the Xfinity Series race here 1 year ago.
Right.
But yeah, owner Bob Jenkins of that 34 car was non-committal beyond this weekend as far as what the plans are for that 34 car.
Carl Edwards 13th on the board after 13 laps.
Boy, I tell you what,
19 laps.
Last week, Larry, I think both of us left Richmond scratching our heads about the Gibbs cars. We were expecting them to be cars to beat at Richmond, and boy, did they struggle. I think Matt Kenseth had the best finish of the 4, but man, Denny Hamlin struggled. I mean, and Carl and David, they all struggled, other than Matt had a decent finish.
That one right there, Denny Hamlin, that probably was the most puzzling to me, because no matter what series, what rules, he's always ran well. Sat on the outside of the front wall in qualifying and dropped like a rock when they dropped the green flag.
Yeah, you're right. What series? What did he do on Friday night? I mean, he led like almost the whole race,
exactly.
all but 2 laps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I couldn't quite figure that one out. They probably couldn't either.
That right there is what you were talking about, Mike. You have to stay below that double yellow line and blend in off of turn 2, just like what you saw Denny Hamlin do in the 11.
The blend line actually looks kind of serrated or checkered there in the blend area. You're riding with Jamie McMurray right there.
And there you are. That's
where you can blend up into traffic. And in other words, what drivers are doing that you're not allowed to do is hang up near the wall and blend down into a line of traffic. How far is it from here to the Tombigbee River? Tombigbee sounds like something out of Rocky and Bullwinkle. But no, that river has the most southward direction of any river in Alabama. It's not close to here, is it? No. Didn't think so. Next great idea, please.
Now, close is a relative term when you think about, well, are you road miles or air miles, or how are you going to get there? You know?
How are you going to get your mirror there, your broken mirror pieces there?
Somehow or another, I don't think they're near as worried about that as we are.
Nah, I know. Mirrors, bugs, what are you going to do? 5 minutes to go in the opening round of Sprint Cup Series practice. Ricky Stenhouse, fastest. Michael Waltrip, Chris Buescher, Denny Hamlin, David Reagan are the Fast Five. Jamie McMurray 29th right now. 45 drivers have been on track.
Daytona 500 winner right there, boys. Logging some laps.
Yeah, his best finish here is third, and he did that actually in his rookie season back in 2009, talking about Joey Logano.
Team Penske won 3 of the last 12 plate races. Only 1 win prior. Dale Jr. gets set to come back out. Matt?
Talladega, his most productive racetrack, 5 wins. And earlier in this session, Junior was complaining that the splitter was deep into the racetrack in the back of the car, too high in the air, and it was tight, especially going through the corners. And he was also talking about something that DW can talk about a little bit later. Just that the steering box was too fast for him. He wanted to adjust that. Now, the game plan now, his team wants him to go out and make 3 timed laps, simulate a green, a white, and a checkered. And you know, one thing we talk about when we come to the plate tracks, you see the special guys that work on the aerodynamic cars of the plate tracks. You'll see Steve Berg down here in the 88 or 48 garages. He builds those cars. And someone that you've worked with in the past, Larry Mack, Kevin Stemberis from the Ford camp, he's also here. Those guys, you only see them about 4 times a year.
You know, Matt talked about the number of laps that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to run in that 88 car. That is the other difference in qualifying tomorrow. Forever when we had single car qualifying here, it would be a get up to speed lap and 2 laps. Tomorrow, get up to speed lap and 1 lap for each driver.
And the steering box, what you deal with on a track like this, when we see the cars running 3 wide the way they're 4 wide, there's a lot of turbulence, and the car has a tendency to want to move around. If that steering box is too quick and you start reacting to the movement of the car, first thing you know, you got that thing zigging and zagging all over the place and you can't keep up with it. You want a little softer, a little slower feel in the wheel so the car can move, but you don't chase it around with the steering wheel. So you just kind of let the car go where it wants to go without reacting to it on the steering wheel and getting the car upset.
Coming down to the end of this session, Chris.
Well, for a lot of this practice, Danica Patrick was 2nd quick, dropped back to 6th quick right now, so you got a lot of speed in the car. But listening to you over the practice, it sounded like at times the back end a little bit nervous. Did you get the 10 car where you wanted it?
I think so. I feel like changes on a speedway are pretty safe changes to fix it, whether it be tight or loose. So, you know, the first run we were just out of the track a little and just, you know, you don't want to go out there and destroy the splitters, so we were a little conservative. And then the second time it was just a little bit free. So, yeah, we were going to go make some qualifying runs, but we got a little too hot there. So we'll just have to regroup in second practice, but I think we'll be just fine.
Danica Patrick solidly in the top 10.
Matt Yoakum was talking about this being one of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s most productive tracks, and rightly so. 5 wins here, but the one thing about it, the last time he won here was back in 2004. When he won those races from 01 to 04, I think Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, they absolutely were at the top of the pile as far as the restrictor plate program.
Yeah, Michael won 2 Daytona 500s and here. Dale Jr. won here. That was when DEI was at their very, very best here at Daytona and Talladega and Daytona. Dale Jr. came out of the pits, and I think he wants to see what kind of pit road entrance speed he can possibly have here.
Well, we even heard Rodney Childers telling Kevin Harvick, get me the RPM for our pit road speed here where we can just verify everything. So Looks like Dale Jr. is just going to go to the garage area with about 40 seconds left in this practice.
No, he's not won here in a while, but he certainly has been competitive. He has been in the hunt to win here multiple times since that last victory, Matt.
Mike, Larry Mack touched on the entry back into the pit road area. The previous time Junior hit pit road, he was trying to simulate coming to pit road during race competition and race speeds and race situations. He flat spotted that right front tire a little too aggressive on speed and on the brakes. They changed those tires, and that's why they sent him back out to try one more time.
So easy to do, even when you're not being aggressive. It's so easy to lock that right front tire up, and once you do that, flat spot it, then you have no choice but you have to change it. So I want to try to correct that. You can do it by jockeying the brake pads around just a little bit. That's what we used to do. A hard one on the inside, a little bit soft one on the outside would keep that right front from having so much grip. The brake would have so much grip.
Flags are out. Practice is over. Now there will be another round of practice later on, and we'll come back and wrap things up from round one, won by Ricky Stenhouse. This is Talladega, and here are the results of the opening round of Sprint Cup practice. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in a Ford. Michael Waltrip's Toyota second fastest. Wait till next practice when you see the helmet that Michael is wearing this weekend. Very sharp. Chris Buescher's Ford is third. Toyotas for Hamlin and Reagan, and the first Chevrolet is Danica Patrick down in sixth.
Quite a few Fords up there, Larry.
Yeah, most of these drivers, they were engaged in at least one draft run during this practice session. I think as we go to the next page, you're going to see a lot of drivers that were single car runs only, including Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson.
45 cars here for 43 spots. Second practice coming a little later on. There's that helmet we're going to show you in detail a little later on. Let's not spoil the whole surprise. Three things you need to know. 4 Fords, 4 Toyotas, 2 Chevys in the top 10. Harvick and Johnson outside the top 30 after making single car runs. And Denny Hamlin, top 5 in all categories, speed, laps run, and 5-lap average. So coming up on Fox Sports 1 as we take you through the afternoon here at Talladega, NASCAR Race Hub is next. Sprint Cup final practice coming up at 4:30 Eastern. NASCAR Race Hub 1 hour later, and the ARCA Series races on Talladega Superspeedway 6 p.m. Eastern Time late this afternoon. Beautiful day for racing. Keep it